All right, welcome everybody. So we figured we're here at Katowice, and since the shuttle to the venue got pushed back by an hour, we figured we'd be productive human beings for once, and actually sit down and talk a little bit about the tournament before we got into it. So I'm here with Henry and Janko,
Hello.
and I'm not sure if this mic is working properly, but we're just gonna wing it, guys. So we're just going to talk quickly. Figure we just talk quickly about what's going on with the event, format of the event, and then we'll get into the groups, give our first impressions on the teams, and then kind of just flow from there. So already, Janko, you're the one who actually got the rule set from the admins because you're a pro. So
I was actually prepared for a tournament.
yeah, because you actually oh, how did the bands work, and we're here like, well, it should be this way, and then Janko's like, no, you idiots, it's actually this way. So Janko, give us a quick rundown on the tournament format and how things are going to break down.
Yeah, so the group stages are best of one, round robin. That means everyone plays against each other.
So 5 maps per group?
Yeah, every team will play 5 maps, and the map is decided by veto. It goes for a coin flip first to decide who is team A, like the team who wins the coin flip decides if they want to ban first or ban last, right? So it goes A, B, B, A, B. So it's not like ban by each team. So there's a ban and 2 bans from the opposing team. So it's a bit different. But in the end, it just comes down to playing one map, basically.
Yeah, right. So it's still that one map format. What happens if there's a tie? Because that's what happens with round robin. Sometimes you can get that 3-way tie or something where everybody's got even number of map wins. What's the format for them to break up a tie?
Yeah, for the tiebreakers, it's actually pretty interesting. It's different than it usually is. It's not that the teams who are, let's say there's a 3-way tie, the teams are not going to play each other again the whole game, right? So what you're going to have there is you have the 3 teams. Each team vetoes 2 maps. There's an order in which that is done as well. I don't know. It's
7 maps total, by the way, guys, in the group. It's the standard format. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, so in the end, there's 1 map left, and each team plays each other on that same map. So, and the thing is, they only play overtime. So they play MR3 10K, which makes it, it doesn't last as long and so on. So it's an interesting way to deal with tiebreakers.
What do you think about that, Henry? You like that format?
I think it's kind of interesting. I think, like Janko said, I haven't really seen it before. So one thing I've got to ask about that is, obviously, are we taking round difference into account when it comes to the ties? That's how we normally break it down, right? We normally look at how that goes down, but are we just counting a win as a win? Is that how it's going down?
It seems like it. I mean, because I was wondering about the same thing, right? Pro League has that same setup where it's like round difference actually matters.
Exactly, right. So normally in these kind of league formats, sometimes you just play all 30 rounds just to kind of see where you'd get to in that kind of stage. So obviously we're just staying. A win counts as X amount of points, and then we're going to that overtime format. So I'd actually be kind of interested to see how that happens. That'd be kind of a tantalizing prospect, I think, like going into an overtime instead of actually playing a full game. You're actually just going straight in, gun rounds, no pistols or anything like that. It's just going to be a straight up brawl. So I think that's a pretty interesting concept.
I mean, I think it's interesting for me. It's just like the GSL format. At least you can kind of get a schedule going for the day. You kind of know, okay, these matches are going to happen at X time and blah blah blah. But if you get into this tie kind of situation where all of a sudden it's like they could just keep playing forever. Yeah. Until somebody cracks, right? Until somebody messes up. So I mean, this could also lead to really long days. Could be the downside of the round robin format, because you have setup time, and then you have you actually have the matches, and then we've
got to get through like 80 maps tomorrow, like something like that. Like overall, like we're not broadcasting all of that, but in Group A, I think it's 18 in total. We'll actually.
Oh, they each play themselves, each play each other twice then?
No,
because it's like 6 teams it's 6 teams in the group, right? And so that means 5 maps per team, right?
Yeah.
So then that'll mean
this is where everyone is gonna look dumb, but the way it goes is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Because the first team is gonna play 5 games, but then the other team is playing 4 besides the 1 game, and it diminishes. So 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus.
You went to school for economics, right, Janko?
Yes.
Yeah, we can tell.
It's like 15 games per day. So I think that 7 are shown on the main stream. There's going to be a side stream as well, and only the last game of the day is going to be 3 games going on at the same time. So besides that, 2 games at the same time, and only one for only one out of the 2 are we going to have a desk. We're going to do an analysis for that.
That's right. Quite rare for an event, though, right? Like having games we don't even see on stream. Like we're not even going to be able to watch some of those games, which is makes it quite difficult to analyze and see how teams are performing. We can only really go on the score lines. Sure, we can watch the demos and stuff, but in terms of seeing what kind of form they're in, that's quite rare for us to actually not even be able to watch them.
What we gotta wonder is for the green room setup. If there is a green room setup, A, B. in that green room setup, will we have like both streams, for example? Can we have like both matches being broadcast, and so you could actually, you know, as an analyst during that downtime in the match, just sit there and actually be able to watch both and, you know, try and focus a little bit on both? I mean, does that make sense to you?
Nice. Maybe you can make me watch the Russian stream as well and see what the Russian casters are talking about. Like, it's not enough for me.
Yeah, I need this guy.
Like, it's not enough for me. I have to watch one game, you know, be really focused, but then I have to keep an eye on the second. Like, oh yeah, but in the second game in round 10, there was this amazing round.
I'm just general impressions, bro.
Yeah,
general
it'd be nice just
impressions
to
is
see,
what I'm
like,
saying.
how much of like a whitewash it is, or it was a very close game, lots of clutches. At least you can get some sort of intel just by viewing it. Like, you're not going to be taking notes on 2 different notepads going, right, what's going on here? Like, what's going on there? Like, I think it's
Well, some of us can multitask, Henry.
well, I don't think I'll be trying to attempt that thing. Like, me and you, we've got to do casting and analysis, so we're going to have our plates full this week.
Yeah, that is actually one thing as well. When from the talent point of view, right, where ESL are still one of those tournament organizers where it's actually like you cast and then also you go onto the desk, and so it's very long days. You're always on, pretty much. You're always trying to watch the games and be aware of what's going on, because if you're on the desk next, you got to be able to talk about that game that just happened. And so this is going to be like one of those more like marathon kind of events. You know, it's 4 days long, Wednesday through Saturday, and then the last 2 days, if I'm not mistaken, are going to be in the stadium, like actual stadium matches for CS this time, not like last time where it was just the finals.
Yeah, I think that's much better, especially in Katowice, because of the crowd. The crowd is really loud here. It's amazing.
But does it measure up versus Cologne, man? That's what I'm wondering, you know, because everybody's all about this Katowice crowd, and I'm just like, Cologne crowd last year was insane. So
that was without a German team in the actual stadium.
Yeah.
Like, Mousesports didn't even make it to the final 8, so they were actually still going nuts. For like, when VP had a massive fan base, even in Germany. Imagine the fan base for VP this event. That's going to be off the chain.
I know that's well, I guess we can segue off of that into actually talking about the groups now. So like we said, 2 groups, right? 6 teams per group rather. So in Group A, we've got Fnatic, Navi, Luminosity, Ninjas in Pajamas, Mousesports, and then Mongols.
The underdogs.
The underdogs.
Scrappy fighters at the bottom there. This is what I'm interested in. Obviously, Mongols, like, they've only ever played against Renegades and Asian teams. Like, you guys got a chance to see them at the minor in Asia. Do we think they even stand a chance of taking a map of anyone in this group?
I don't think you can underestimate them.
I've seen they're immensely skilled from what I've seen. Very aggressive, very skilled. Like, they just got that raw mechanics of just being like just sick with the headshots, right? But going up against these teams here, they're going to be aware of them. I don't think they're going to underestimate them going into it. They're going to do a little bit of research. Like, we've seen, they know exactly what how the schedule breaks down tomorrow, so you know who you're playing, when you're playing, and like, I don't think they'll put too much thought into the maps, for example, but they're definitely going to have some sort of intel, kind of the play style. If I had to like look at this and see who I think they could possibly get a map off, NIP could be dangerous. Yeah. Like, NIP obviously just brought in threats, and like their first time being on land with Pit as well. That could be interesting. Like, the raw aim power of Mongols, and they step up and they're playing their top game. That could be an interesting prospect. And then obviously Mousesports as well. I don't see Mongols ever making the top 3, but just causing some upsets, taking down some Titans in the group. That could be quite cool.
I could see that happening as well, to be frank. Mongols, man, like if these teams mess up and somehow allow cash to get through or something like that, right? There's like these certain maps where Mongols really seem to just roll people on, and Machine Gun and Zilkenberg, like those 2 guys are the guys to watch on that team. Machine Gun, he's got that crisp, it's like aim lock aim, you know, where he's just like bam bam, like headshots, and it's not just like a smooth curve, it's just like lock. His aim is awesome to watch. So I think that Mongols, obviously, I can't really disagree with you. They're not really going to make it top 3, but they could definitely take, you know, surprise NIP or Mousesports. I really don't have too much faith in NIP. I mean, what do you think, Janko?
I have faith in NIP. I have faith in NIP because of Threat more than anything else. I really respect Threat as a tactical mind, so to speak, right?
Sure.
I think that he is exactly what NIP needs. The problem is, did he have enough time to implement what he wanted to? You know, in only the few games I've seen them play in Pro League, they did look better. You know, you could see changes and so on. So I actually say, after a long time, NIP is a dark horse in a tournament. They're not the favorites here to pass the group stage, but they can upset. We saw, especially because it's a best of 1, right? At Leipzig, we saw FaZe beat Luminosity in the best of 1 game in the groups, in the first game, in the opener. Pretty easily won both pistols, won the crucial rounds. But then when it came to a best of 3, the decider, Luminosity just ran through them, because it was, it's different when it comes to vetoes and so on. So anything is possible in a best of 1. I still don't think Mongols are gonna take a map off of anyone. Maybe in a game against Mouse, if it's like if it's the last game, both teams are already out, and maybe just not taking it seriously enough or something. But I think that for them this is mainly. I agree. they have skilled players and everything, but it's two things. It's who were they playing against, like you already mentioned briefly, but it's also that they've been traveling. Like I don't know if they're here yet, and it's also nerves, playing on the big scene as well. These players are experienced. Even if they realize that okay, the Mongol guys, they have raw aim, they have skill, they're just not gonna give them easy challenges. They're gonna play it more passively, strategically, and so on. And I don't think that Mongols are yet on a level that they will be able to deal with that.
Just to go back to NIP as well, that's my thoughts on how they're going to do this tournament.
Please enlighten us, man.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I think everyone kind of like associates me with some sort of NIP fanboy. Like, I think it's been said in the past.
Associates you? Okay.
But just to say, like, I agree with Janko. I think like Threat's like a real great Counter-Strike mind. He really he's played with these guys since like the Fnatic days and SK and stuff. Like, he's known them for a long time. They trust him. Like when they had Natu before, right? It seemed like they didn't really respect him to some sort of level. Like they weren't actually like listening to his feedback. They weren't taking it on board. They were kind of very stubborn in their ways. Yeah. This time they've given the full in-game leadership to Threat. It's not like he's the advisor. He's actually the man in charge right now. He's there boot camping with them. He's coming up with all the theories of Counter-Strike, and you can see it reflect in their game. Like the maps they weren't necessarily very good on or well known for playing. Like Train, for example, now that was a map they were okay on. They could get some of the bigger teams like VP. They could give them close games and give Fnatic a close game. They were never really able to close them out. Now you see their T sides. They're not just relying on walking out and Forest killing people and finding entry frags and stuff. They're actually having these great. I don't know, Jay.
Thanks, Ajay.
Doing a video.
Only recording a video. We just like the sound. We just like the sound of our own voice.
I thought you were chatting over the podcast.
So OJ's here to host. You guys got to see his ass. There you go.
So we'll cut there, and then we'll come back. And
Again,
the point I'm making on trainers before they were relied on what worked for them in like 2013, right? They were just so much better in terms of like the understanding of the basics of CS:GO. They were so much better in terms of the basic fundamentals, working as a team, working kills, getting the bomb down. But now that just wasn't enough. That was evident in 2015. They couldn't really rely on that anymore. They
just didn't have the raw aim to go toe to toe with a team like Envy or Fnatic.
When these guys were miles.
I'm gonna go over to no, never mind.
When these guys were like heads and shoulders.
We're in a bar right now, in case you guys are wondering. Like that drink isn't there as a prop,
When they were heads and shoulders above everyone, now they were the first ones to like come over to CS:GO. Like people hadn't necessarily caught up. They could rely on this basic drive, and now they realise that. We see it on Train now. They've actually got some really nice executors. You can see they've been doing their homework. These guys, they don't want to kind of roll over and just accept, we were good once. We want to be the best again. And like I was speaking to them before this tournament, and it's like, well, we actually think a final might be possible here. Like they're quietly confident. I think like they're confident in the homework they've done. They've got like someone who actually is gonna not be so emotionally invested into the game like Auguste. He can be a very strong fragger, but it seems like when he has been leading, perhaps that's been kind of something that's been holding him back slightly. I'm not really sure, but I feel like they can get the most out of the team with this current setup.
I'm curious. I mean, we've been seeing some matches from them in Pro League recently over the past couple of weeks, and it's clear, it's evident that they're really trying to get more structure going in their game. They to the point where, I believe it was on Overpass, I can't remember who their opponents were, but on Overpass, they were just running the same strat over and over again on T-side. The same thing where we were actually, I think we were casting together, weren't we? And we were able to predict, like, oh yeah, well, they're doing the exact same thing again. 2 guys go into restroom. Next round, 2 guys go into restroom. Like, they're actually just, like, running these strats over and over to try and figure out the kinks in them, right? And so this is a NIP that we're just not used to seeing. NIP is, they'll run the same thing over again, except that it's like a 5-point strat where everybody just goes, default all across the map and just sit and wait. And then Freiburg dies, and then, horrible things happen, right? So, I mean, now we actually see them running some kind of like fixed kind of strategy. It's interesting to see the development of NIP, and with Threat being involved in it as well. It seems like they were, maybe it's because he's Swedish, I don't know, Swedes, Finns, they don't really get along. So, I mean, maybe because of that, right? But no, not really, guys. But yeah, Threat is in now with NIP. I mean, let's quickly. I mean, we're talking a lot about 2 teams in particular, but like quickly, let's just go ahead and wrap up the rest of the group. I mean, is there much to say about like Fnatic, Navi, LG? Like, those, I guess that they're the favorites, the clear favorites to make it out of this group top 3.
I mean, for me, the Navi Luminosity matchup is like the most entertaining matchup for me personally to watch, because it's always who's gonna get the one up on the opponent, right? They both have a similar play style, and then it's outsmarting your opponent and so on. That's why the DreamHack Leipzig grand final was amazing between these 2 teams, a really close game. So, and Fnatic beat Navi in 2 finals at Minsk and at Pro League as well, beat Luminosity in that crazy semi-final game, and means that like both of these teams were really close at times to dethroning Fnatic, so to speak. So even now in a best of 1, we know that Fnatic's map pool isn't as good as it was before, right? Navi is probably the team with the strongest map pool in this group. So I think it's going to be really close. That's why I like this format, because it's good from time to time to have a different format, just to it gets a bit stale.
Yeah, no, it is. It's been a long time as well. This is one of the older formats as well. Basically, when they released the format, they was like, "Yeah, we're going back to our roots, boys."
I don't mind
round robin.
I think it's great. Like everyone's guaranteed like 5 games. You can actually prove yourself against every opponent. You're not just kind of going up against, oh, you're playing this team. If you lose, you're going down here. Like it's kind of clean cut, right? So someone like Mongols are going to be going, oh, we can actually play against all 5 teams here, and they're actually going to get some really cool games. I'm not so confident. Fnatic are going to go 5-0 in their group. I don't think that's going to happen. Like sometimes we saw them like previous events, like they can easily drop maps early stages of the tournament. It's not too detrimental in terms of them going forward. But
who's going to beat them then? Because I mean they're playing. They've got Navi and Luminosity in their group, and Navi and Luminosity
Envious.
they lose to Fnatic.
It was a couple of months ago. Is that Envious ran over them on Inferno?
Yeah. But the Envious aren't in their group.
Yeah, I know,
right?
but I'm saying like it's possible, right? Obviously in this group, it's like you haven't got Envious, but you have got Luminosity, who can. They should have won that game on Inferno last time.
They should have.
That was it was 16-14. It was like a Tech 9 force buy that kind of saved them. They definitely had the potential to do it in a best of 1. Like if Luminosity are like they're on their A game, like it's in a best of 1.
Mental game though, Henry.
I
mean, Navi have got a massive block. Like Navi have got a massive block against Fnatic. Luminosity a little bit maybe hasn't really set the foundation yet of the block, right?
Yeah.
The block, they're still building the plywood to pour the cement into it, right? But like Navi have definitely got that block going, right? So I think Fnatic have got to be feeling pretty good about going into this group, at least as far as upsets are concerned.
Well, the thing is as well, like if you come through first in your group, you're directly in the semi-finals, right? That's such a massive prospect going forward. Like you get to watch like a whole day of CS, what's going on, and like kind of scout out so much intel going forward. So obviously getting that first position, like that's so vital, I think, for a lot of these teams. Like if Fnatic can secure that's pretty much for me. Like they're gonna go forward.
And just to be clear, if you get first seed in the group, you go straight into the semifinals of the playoffs. It's the second and third seed that will go into the quarterfinals, play against each other, and then move on to face off against the first seed. So it is really important to get that first seed. Any last thoughts about Group A, YNK, before we move on?
I think it's going to be real close because, we're talking who can upset Fnatic, like NIP Fnatic, the domestic matchup. It's always weird. Like, you remember Katowice last year, the grand finals. Fnatic was a far superior team going into that matchup, but the game was extremely close because when you talk to them after, it's like, it's always different when we play NIP. It's like, even if we are objectively better, the games are always close because the teams know each other very well. So, yeah, I think it's going to be crazy. It is obviously the harder group. So I think we're going to have some upsets for sure.
All right. Well, let's start taking a look at the second group here. We don't want this to go on too long. Obviously, we're going to be talking about these guys for the next 4 days. This is just supposed to be. It was supposed to be a brief overview, but whatever. We'll get into it. Group B, again, 6 teams: Envious, Astralis, Virtus Pro, FaZe, eFrag, and then Tempo Storm, the second Brazilian team.
Yeah,
so. I mean, Henry, you're nodding your head. You're looking all grins. What already? First thoughts,
So for me, there's one key storyline for me. Like, I think FaZe, this is like the tournament they need to start showing their worth right now. Like, they've had some very disappointing results recently. Like, it's one of those things when you get picked up by one of the biggest organizations in the world, you've getting paid all this cash, and like you're coming into events saying, oh, we just haven't practiced and stuff like that, right? Like, for me, that's just not really good enough anymore. Like, you're being paid to play, you're a professional CS player, you need to start stepping up for events. I think now they have Robin coming to this event as well. So he's actually in-game leader as well. So I called those guys at the airport and they said, yeah, he's the in-game leader. He obviously has never played CSGO to a professional level. So him coming in and his understanding of the game might not be necessarily on point. It's going to take a lot of time, I think. I don't think this is the event they can actually definitely, like, they might not even get out of the group stage to say, I'm not sure, but I hope we're going to see some signs of life here going forward for them. Like, that's one of the main teams I want to see perform here. Like, a great group of players there. A couple of weaknesses, but I feel like they have the potential to get out of this group, but maybe this isn't the one. It depends on how VP turn up to this tournament, I think.
And there lies the rub, right?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I got to talk with them a little bit in Stockholm, and it was the same thing where Robin is like, I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to handle CSGO as a leader, right, as an in-game leader. But he does have ideas. He does have his way, and he's already trying to implement that in the team. But yeah, he's still not super confident. But yeah, it is going to be between like VP and FaZe, I think, for that third slot. What do you think, Yang?
Yeah, I just want to see VP play better, man. Like you know, they're 1-10, 1-11, no 1-11 in Pro League or something. That's just they're gonna be, they have to fight for survival right now in Pro League. It's not even the line finals are out of the question at this point. And you know, seeing as it is from a entertainment point of view, or you know, as a viewer, having VP play in that arena, that's probably the best you can get, right? But in the end, they have been struggling. Taz tweeted that it's a work in progress, so be patient and so on, which is okay. If you're sacrificing your results now for the future, you know, to play better at some point, to revitalize your game, that makes sense. But the thing is, they've been making mistakes that have nothing to do with changing stuff around. It's, you know, some fundamental mistakes in, you know, the 3v3 situations, after plans, and something which is not really, you know, it's not the VP way in a sense. So I'm interested to see if they're going to have, you know, a breath of fresh air in front of their home crowd, because Envias and Astralis, after their like slump towards the end of the year, end of the last year, beginning of this year, both teams have been like back on the rise right now. Astralis almost beat Fnatic in Barcelona in that grand final game. So
and Astralis took down Envious as well on Mirage, so that's actually quite cool. They could, like, Astralis definitely have the potential to win this group. Like, it's best of one again. If they, I don't think they'll get the opportunity to play Mirage necessarily, but they definitely have the tools available. They're very good early in tournaments, especially Astralis. So they can take down these huge sculpts here. So in terms of favourites of the group, like, although Envious, I'd say, are the number one seed, yeah, that goes without saying. Like, Astralis, I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to take a game off them and potentially top that group as well. One thing I just want to touch on with VP as well, do we have booths here? Like, is it like soundproof booths? Or are we going to have that hometown roar coming in?
Ooh, buddy.
Like, 'cause that's the thing.
I don't think we do have booths. I don't think so.
I don't necessarily think it makes them better. I just feel like opponent, when you're playing against VP and you're getting booed, or like the crowd are completely against you, that can be like pretty discouraging, especially for some of the younger players. And then like teams like Navi as well, someone who's very emotionally invested in the game, people can get quite tilted quite easily. I think that could be a factor at least. But I have to agree with Janko, like VP for me, this is getting to like almost last chance to like the way they've been playing right now. I think they're almost dropping out of the top 10 in the world right now. It's looking like they're actually the way they're performing, like they haven't been to many events. It's looking pretty dire, but obviously they can always bounce back. They're in the major, obviously. They're coming back here, Katowice. They've been boot camping. It's not over yet. We've only seen them online, right? So I don't think we can take too much away from that.
Yeah, I guess apart from the Leipzig catastrophe, basically.
That, yeah, of course. But I feel like there's still, they've been doing, they know that they've messed up, right? It's been a horrible season. You can see they haven't really developed much in terms of a team and the way they approach situations and their map pool and stuff. But they've been trying to get Dust 2 in there. At Leipzig, we call them experimenting for some reason.
And we were just like, why?
They did it against Fnatic as well in Pro League. Yeah. It's like, okay, even if you're trying to play Dust 2, you think, why leave it against the teams who are the strongest on that map? You know, it's something I disagree with, but...
So yeah, we clearly VP, we got a lot of work, or they've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do, I guess, in analyzing their games, because I think there's going to be a lot of nonsensical stuff that happens. That seems to be what's going on with them right now, at least what we've seen online. So, you know, it could be a double-edged sword as well, you know, having that home crowd for you, because if that crowd goes silent, if you're getting bodied, then, you know, you're just like, oh, buddy, you know, like 11,000 people watching us, just, you know, they're here for us.
And also, we've been talking about the upsets in Group A, right?
Let's talk about Tempo Storm. I'm wondering.
Yeah, the thing is, in this group, I feel that VP, Astralis, and Envias are actually really good at not getting upset by teams like eFrag and Tempo Storm. Okay, Envias, we all know that they're notorious first game of the day stuff, you know, always being maybe a bit hungover or whatever, you know.
No, that's like Shoxy's on G2 now, you know.
Yeah, so, and as you pointed out, Henry, it's like Tempo Storm really didn't show up in the major qualifier, you know. It wasn't up to par on their online performances.
This is the thing, right? Like, I've been told, like, this Henny guy, like, he's going to be one of the sickest players in the world, right? And I thought, okay, I've got to check this guy out. Like, I'm going to watch all their games at the major qualifier. And I was like, okay, like, what's the fuss about? Like, why have we been bigging him up so much? Like, I understand he has performed in previous tournaments and stuff, but this is their biggest shot at it, like at a massive event, making it to the major. That's what we're all aspiring to. Well, sorry, that's what all the teams are aspiring to make, right? And
not
then
anymore.
Wow.
We are not aspiring anymore.
Maybe in 2005, but not anymore. Yeah, but yeah, like for me, like those, I've been told so much about him. Obviously got Bolts as well, like established players. But for me, that's one player I really wanted to see like go absolutely sick. I've heard he's like one of the best best AWPers on the planet right now, and he can
Quickest reactions, I think, is what Blade. What was his name? Dazed, of course.
Okay.
Where Dazed is also getting on that hype train where he tweets like, Hedges has got like the fastest reactions I've ever seen ever.
The thing,
It's like, what?
the thing is, if a guy can get 45 kills in one map against Cloud9, you know, who qualified for the major in the end, you know, that's I don't know if when was the last time I ever saw some in regulation, so it's not like triple overtime.
Kenny.
45. I don't think he got 45.
No, he didn't get 45.
I mean that's crazy by itself, but he didn't show that level of performance on the major qualifier, you know. So it's, and EFrag as well, having to play without Dreamer, obviously, because it's, you know, an ESL event, he's banned, so they have to use a stand-in.
This is the big thing for me for EFrag, right? Like, at what point do we just say we need to just get rid of Dreamer? Like how long? They just do this the whole year, just changing one player out there, one of their best players, Dreamer, and then it's going to be like Punisher coming in and trying to adjust every single event, and he's like, oh, you guys want me now? Okay, yeah, I'll come and step in. Like, he's a solid player, he's fine, but like this team's not going to have any future, I don't think, if they continue like this.
Well, this is a bit of an experiment, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of like how the old teams used to play with Simple. Yeah. Simple being banned out of all the ESL leagues. All, you know, Flipside struggled with it, Hellraiser struggled with it, but this could be used as a little bit of an experiment here, just to see, is it possible to have a sixth man as a stand-in, right?
The thing is
it possible to have a full roster that has 6 men on it, and that you can rotate somebody in if you need to, and they're up to snuff, like they're a part of the team?
It's possible, but it's not very practical, right? Because that player would, in theory, have to know the role of each player on the team. Unless he's there just for one specific player, then it's a different story, like in this case, right? But EFrag are adamant about playing with Dreamer. Like, we play with Dreamer, we practice with Dreamer. Only in the games where we cannot field him, we have a stand-in, you know, and they probably played a couple of practice games with Punisher on some of the maps and so on, just to, you know, but he's been playing so many games for them that, you know, he basically probably got used to the roles and everything. So it is unfortunate for them, but I mean, so far they have no way out.
I feel it's going to be between them and Tempo Storm, basically, as to who's going to be last in this group. Because the rest of it is all, I mean, know, like, it all looks really solid.
FaZe against Tempo Storm, I don't think that's as clean cut as we've made it.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think Tempo Storm in the best of one could give them a very good run for their money. Like I said, they've been relying on this pug playstyle for far too long. This is the first event they're actually bringing Robin in and trying to be more structured. And there's some of these players, that might actually be their downfall. They might not actually like being so like rigid, and like they might actually like flourish on actually having the chance to actually play how they like and take opportunities they want to, not being told what to do.
I guess it's Michael Layla that we're talking about here, because he's kind of the guy who stands out for me.
Could hold some of the backs, could stifle some of these players. You feel like they're a little bit too controlled here, they're too caged. So before, this is kind of Michael's team, right? It's kind of like he kind of like he had full reign of it, and like he kind of worked out how it all went. Obviously, they didn't really have an in-game leader as such. I think they were kind of mixing it up every single event. They were giving like Rain a go, and then you saw Rain's performance just completely drop off as soon as he started calling.
Well, it puts an immense strain on Rain. He's your clutcher as well. Yeah, he's kind of like the guy who's just there to do his thing. All right, well, I think we need to go ahead and wrap this up now. We're approaching 30 minutes already. So this was supposed to be like a 10-minute video, and then all of a sudden, of course, you know, this is what happens, right? This is...
There's a lot to talk about. There's 12 teams at this event. There's so many storylines going on. So...
No, it is going to be sick, and with like round robin format as well, like that. It's just it is an interesting format. It's different. Everybody's going to get to play everybody. It's not just going to be that clean cut route through the groups into the brackets. There's going to be a lot of well, you know, the knives are going to come out basically. So, guys, be sure to tune in. It's going to be happening over the next 3 days. This will be going live, I guess, tonight on Tuesday, but it starts on Wednesday. It goes all the way through Saturday. So be sure to tune back in here at Room on Fire. Hit the follow, hit the sub, and we'll be putting out more content this weekend here at Katowice. So we'll see you there.